Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Property Management 101, and for today's video, I'll be providing move-out tips for residents. Most likely at some point in your life, unless you buy a home when you're 18 years old, you're likely going to have a situation you'll be renting an apartment unit or renting a single family home. And in either of these situations, you're going to have at one point or another have a situation where you'll be moving out of these units. By following these steps in this video today, it will really help make that move out process as smooth as possible. In addition to making the move out process as smooth as possible, by following these steps in the video today, it'll also help you maximize your return, your security deposit, by avoiding the most amount of fees and charges that you may receive after you move out. The first best practice to keep in mind when you know you'll be moving out, give proper notice. So in a situation where you know you won't be renewing or extending your lease at any point, you want to make sure that you are giving proper notice. This is something that will be outlined in your lease as far as when and how you need to be giving proper notice. In most areas around the country that I've seen, a common time frame as far as what you'll be required to give notice from a time frame perspective will be 60 days. But I have known and seen situations where you'll be required to either give 30-day notice or a 90-day notice period, for example. But in either situation, you want to make sure you defer to your lease when it comes to the time that you're required to give as far as notice. What this simply means, in a situation you're required to give a 60-day notice, for example, then 60 days prior to your lease end date, you need to inform the office that you will not be renewing and you'll be moving out on your scheduled move out date or lease expiration date. You do not have to wait to the 60th day before your expiration date or your lease end date, but you can give notice, let's say 65 days out, 70 days out, etc. But you just need to make sure that you're not giving notice anything less than your required notice date. If you do, you're likely to face additional fees or additional rent for failing to give proper notice. Including in the clause in your lease that outlines how and what you're required to do as far as giving notice will likely be a set of directions of what it will be required as far as how. For example, most leases will require, if you give notice, that it'll have to be in writing. So you just want to make sure you're deferring the lease and you're following the directions to a T as far as giving proper notice. The second best practice to keep in mind when it comes to move out tips and tricks is follow your move out direction. Once you give notice, most property management companies will give you a set of directions as far as what you'll be required to do as far as your move out process. Once you give formal notice, if they don't provide you a set of move out directions, then I would defer back to your lease to see if it's included in there. If in either situation they do not provide you move out directions, this is something I would ask them for to see if they have any type of cheat sheet that they'll be providing you as far as move out directions that you'll need to follow as far as their move out process of what is required. Once you've had the opportunity to review these move out directions, you want to follow these directions as closely as you can. These move out directions will include things as far as what they'll be inspecting as far as when they're walking unit for move out charges, when and how to turn in your keys, and any other steps that will be required as far as their move out process. One key point that I want to mention regarding this step as well is you want to ensure that the address they have on file is the updated address. So likely in a scenario where if you did move from another area that you were renting a home and it wasn't a situation you were buying a home, most likely that's the address they have on file. So it is a situation you want to provide them the new address of the unit you'll be moving into in the future, because this is the address they'll be sending your move out statement and any refund of any security deposit that you'll be receiving. And you want to ensure the address they have on file is your updated address. If not, it is a likely situation you will not receive your security deposit refund or your move out statement with the list of charges. I hope you're enjoying this video so far and learning something new. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. And the third best practice when it comes to making your move out process as smooth as possible is leave the unit in the best condition possible. To maximize your ability to receive most of your security deposit, if not all of your security deposit, you want to ensure you're leaving that unit in the best condition possible. If you do receive a move out direction sheet, you want to ensure you're following all those steps. And if it's not listed in those directions, and here's some things that I would spot check and make sure that are in the best condition you can leave them before moving out and turning in your keys. Number one, you want to make sure all the flooring is clean and swept as much as possible. I've seen it often in a lot of situations, residents will actually rent a carpet cleaner if they don't personally own one and clean all the carpets before moving out. You want to make sure you're sweeping all the flooring. The second thing is you want to make sure that all of your walls are in good condition. So this may mean the touch-up paint or any wall repair or filling any holes that you've created by hanging up anything on the walls. And usually most offices will even provide you paint codes of the paint that they use on the walls. So if you do have to touch up, it is an exact match. So these are some of the things you want to consider when you're looking and reviewing the walls. And in addition, keep in mind ceilings and closets as well. You also want to make sure that the unit is fully cleaned. Now, I would always recommend cleaning the unit after you move out any of your belongings. And this actually segues to the last thing I was going to mention as well on this topic is you want to make sure you're moving out all of your belongings. Keep in mind, if anything is left behind, they're going to have to charge you a trash out fee. And this trash out fee can vary, but it is a situation where you don't want to leave your stuff behind because it's likely to go in the trash and you're not going to be able to go back and ask for these items and state, hey, I just simply forgot it. Their job as a property management company is to turn the unit quickly. So that's something to keep in mind, that they are required to actually give you back your security deposit in a certain amount of time based off their real estate commission in that particular state. So if you do leave anything, you're probably not going to have a situation where you'll be able to go back and reclaim that item. And you'll also be charged for that trash out. Another tip that I would recommend when it comes to this topic is, one thing I've always tried to do when I was renting a unit and moving to a different unit or home is I would always have some crossover when it comes to the lease terms. So oftentimes I've seen many renters, and this is actually a big mistake if you ask me, where they'll move out on a particular date and that same exact date they'll move into their new home. And to me, that doesn't allow the opportunity to fully move out, take your time as far as cleaning the unit, take your time moving everything out. So residents tend to rush moving out of that unit. And then things are likely to be missed, or the job as far as cleaning won't be done as well, or you'll accidentally leave some things in a particular closet. So it is a really good practice to have some crossover. So for example, the last time I recently moved, one of the things I had about a month and a half crossover where I could easily take my time as far as moving things out of my old unit into my new home, as well as go back and then do a thorough cleaning, thorough touching up on painting. So this allowed me to get 100% back of my security deposit. So that's one suggestion I would strongly recommend, because keep in mind that home or unit that you rented prior will also potentially be part of your rental history for reference if you do end up having to rent again. So you want to make sure you're leaving in good condition and you receive a good rental reference from that previous landlord. And a bonus tip for you today is one thing you want to do shortly after you move into your unit that'll actually help you as far as your move out process and receiving back as much as you can from a security deposit standpoint is completing your move-in condition form. This form will actually be given to you shortly after you move in or when you receive your keys to your new unit. Now, this is something that will actually help when you move out of that unit as far as the landlord processing your move out charges. If something is listed on this move-in condition report, then that landlord shouldn't be charging you for that item when you move out. But this will also help the landlord quickly go through your charges and get you back your security deposit that much faster if you've completed your move-in condition report. Now, in your lease, we'll probably outline some of the guidelines with turning in your move-in condition report. So you want to read those before turning in to ensure it is a situation you're following the directions and you meet the deadline as far as turning that move-in condition form in. Most often, I've seen landlords give 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 1 week. I've seen different ranges, so you really want to defer to your lease when it comes to this, but you don't want to miss the deadline that's given for your move-in condition report. If you do miss that deadline, then technically they do have the right as the landlord to not consider those items when you move out against your move-out charges and not charge you for those. So make sure you're following that guideline. Before turning in your move-in condition report, you want to make sure you give a thorough inspection of that unit. So here's some things that I would recommend when it comes to giving that unit a thorough inspection. You want to test all appliances. You want to make sure you're going to every sink, every spigot, every faucet, tub, shower, everything, and turning on the hot and cold water to make sure all the knobs are working correctly and the water temperature is heating up or cooling down enough properly. You want to open and close all windows and doors, both interior and exterior, to ensure that everything is open and closing correctly, as well as locking and unlocking correctly. You want to thoroughly check every single room, and this includes ceilings, flooring, walls, drawers, cabinets, countertops. You want to ensure everything is in good condition, it doesn't need cleaned, everything is functioning correctly, and there's no damage to it. And the last thing I would inspect as well is all glass. So this includes all mirrors, all windows. You want to make sure none of them are cracked, or there's no damage, or there's no holes. If there are, these are all the types of things you want to put on your moving condition report. One thing I would always recommend to do as well is, in addition to turning in the office, I would include an email to the office where you would scan the moving condition report and include any pictures of any of the damages. This will help in a situation where, if that maybe landlord changes management companies, or if they say they lost the form or never received it, you have written documentation that you did provide it and returned it to the office. And for a video recap today, keep in mind these best practices as a resident if you're moving out. Number 1, give proper notice. Number 2, follow the move out directions that have been given to you from the landlord. This is really a cheat sheet of the things they look at when they're walking your unit for damages. Number 3, you really want to leave the unit in the best condition that you possibly can. And for the bonus tip, keep in mind completing your moving condition report every single time you move into a new unit. And if you don't have one, I would ask the landlord for one to see if they could provide one. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. And if you haven't done so already, please connect to our LinkedIn and our Instagram page for industry news, polls, and video releases. And if you haven't done so already, please watch my disclosure video as well as my Why I Do This video. If you have any questions about this video or any of my videos, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be happy to address it for you. Happy leasing!